This is the third video in the series about money and the freedom credit. And we're on page 3 now. We're going to be talking about Efficienomics, how the freedom credit is a closed loop system, the morality of the current monetary system, and how the banks own your money. And it's unsafe and unfair to use the banks and why. So starting off with Efficienomics, I could almost guarantee you've never heard that word before because I created it. And the concept of Efficienomics is that it represents production efficiency improvements due to technological enhancements and streamlined processes, which lead to prices falling to the marginal cost of production. Efficienomics occurs in stable, inflationary and deflationary systems, but is most powerful with a deflationary and capped currency. It's only applicable in some form of capitalistic socio-economic structure with competition. And so I learnt that principle from Jeff Booth, but it's too long to, every time you want to talk about that concept, to say prices fall to the marginal cost of production because technology is deflationary and processes get streamlined. You're like, you need just one word. So to encapsulate that whole concept, Efficienomics. I love it. And obviously it's only applicable with capitalism. If you don't have competition, well, as we see with governments and monopolies, prices keep going up. Prices only ever go down for things when you have competition, because then there's incentive now. Without competition, prices rocket. When plasma TVs, mobile phones, and computers first became available, they were very expensive. Today we have access to much better technology for much cheaper. This is even considering we're operating in an inflationary environment. With the freedom credit, prices will drop dramatically in all industries. It's true your salary will also decrease in nominal units, but your overall purchasing power of goods and services increases. In today's monetary climate, some goods and services get cheaper whilst many others get more expensive. 10 years ago, your groceries may have cost $100 for a week. Today, it might cost $150. In 10 years, maybe $200. Prices continue to rise when governments and banks continue to create new money. The opposite effect will happen, inevitably, with the freedom credit. Every year for many years, your week's worth of groceries and everything else will get cheaper because of Efficienomics, competition, and no inflation. So the freedom credit is designed to be a closed loop system. This is why you can't exchange your credits back to fiat. This avoids many legal hurdles while encouraging the freedom credit to be used as it's designed to be used, as money. The goal of the freedom credit is to replace all other currencies in the world and become the primary medium of exchange. Its privacy, security, and appreciating value are its main selling points for why people will prefer to use credits as their dominant means of exchange, as opposed to devaluing fiat currency or publicly visible crypto. Over the long term, it means that the world's money supply of 10 trillion credits will continue to rise in value due to the principle of Efficienomics. For you personally, it means you can buy more things because the price of everything drops, because the freedom credit supply isn't inflating and devaluing. In the first year using freedom credits, a week worth of groceries may cost 200 credits. The 5th year it might cost 170, and the 10th, perhaps 150. As more people adopt the freedom credit, the value of each credit rises due to businesses lowering prices to compete for customers. The larger variety of markets, say like food, clothing, housing, technology, services, the more markets that use freedom credits, the faster prices drop and the more value everyone can access. Let's look at the morality of the current system. And money today, it relies upon commercial banks, central banks, and governments working together to create credit. When you take out a loan, banks don't lend existing money. They create new money and credit it to your account, expecting repayment with interest on top. This ability to inflate the money supply is exclusive to banks, while anyone else would face charges of counterfeiting. No one has the right to create new money because no one has the right to sacrifice the value of our money for their undeserved profit. This is what happens every day with all fiat currencies. And this is greed, wanting and taking what you have no right to, don't deserve, and haven't earned. Every time a bank creates new money, they're stealing the value of our money. New money creation is currency devaluation, and devaluation is value theft. The freedom credit is a limited and fixed currency which is unbiased and puts everyone on equal and fair footing. Traditionally, whoever controlled the money supply, as in who is responsible for creating policies and the money itself, could, can, and does control the world. This most powerful of abilities to fabricate new money on a whim is not one anyone has the right to. It can only favor those at the top and produce suboptimal results for everyone else. Theft is not a right. The power of fractional reserve lending, quantitative easing, and open market operations, amongst others, are objectively immoral. Of creating new credit, creating new money ex nihilo, out of nothing. And they all result in the theft of your medium of exchange and method of survival, which is money. Humans require the use of reason to survive as our nature demands as conceptual beings. We've evolved to divide our labor and increase our standard of living by inventing means of exchange to facilitate trade more efficiently. The man-made technology which enables us to peacefully cooperate, human qua human, is money. As with all human action, there's a wrong and right, good and bad. It's wrong for some to have the power to steal your wealth by increasing theirs arbitrarily. When those with the license to create money do so, there's no genuine trade or value exchange involved. All that occurs every time these institutions expand the money supply is that you get poorer and they get richer. We get poorer. Getting rich is great. It really is, but not at anyone else's expense. To be ambitiously devoted to increasing your wealth is perfectly moral and praiseworthy. But to be greedy? No, that's not. One is just, the other isn't. For a currency to be objectively moral, it can't be unlimited. Instead of being designed to devalue your purchasing power and infringe on your ability to survive, a capped currency like the freedom credit will empower you via appreciation due to Efficienomics. Next, the banks own your money. Why using banks is unsafe and unfair. Your money may not be as safe in banks as you think. So I need to remove the may because it's not as safe as many people think. Due to bail-in legislation, when banks face financial difficulties, yeah, right, they can legally use your deposits to rescue themselves from their own mismanagement and incompetence. Or is it really incompetence, or is there something else going on? It's inconsequential, really. The fact is, it's happening. If a bank decides to restrict your access, they can freeze your account, leaving you unable to access your funds. Legally, once you deposit money in a bank, it's no longer considered your money, and you become an unsecured creditor in the eyes of the law. You might believe your funds are securely held in a bank account, but in reality, you've effectively loaned your savings to the bank. They utilize your deposits through fractional reserve lending to generate exorbitant profits. Ever wondered how the banks are so rich? Well, this is a way how. For every $100 you lend them, They can magically make $90 out of thin air. On their balance sheets, your deposits are recorded as both an asset and a liability. It's a liability because the bank owes you the amount you deposited, but it's also an asset they can leverage to create new money ex nihilo, out of nothing. Whenever you apply for a loan with interest from the bank, you're essentially buying money from them which they don't have. Example, you want a $300,000 home loan. The bank says they'll give it to you at 5% interest over 30 years. Yeah, that's okay, that sounds all right. But what that really means is you're buying $300,000 from the bank for almost double the amount. They don't actually transfer the funds from their savings account to your account. They're not even pulling it from other people's accounts. It's newly made. What they do is they purchase the loan agreement from you with fresh, newly created money, which is considered a promissory note, the loan agreement, and it's a financial security. They create the credit out of nothing by typing the numbers into your account. And yet you have to work in the real world for 30 years, providing actual value to other people, contributing to society in exchange for this legal magic trick. Over 30 years of hard, honest work, you'll have to pay close to $600,000 to the bank for the privilege of using the $300,000 they manifested from the air via your signature on a piece of paper. Doesn't sound like a fair trade, does it? It's because it's not. All the bank needs to do is spend 30 seconds typing numbers into a computer, and you have to work for 30 years? Not only do they create this money from nothing, but they expect you to pay double for the honor. They have the audacity, the gall to charge interest on top of this. It's madness. While banks generally allow you to access your funds, it's not guaranteed. And notable examples of crises where banks drain their customers' accounts for bail-in laws: Argentina, 2001. Recently was in Argentina. The inflation is mad. It costs like 5,000 pesos to get a cup of coffee. It's ridiculous. Whereas, 5,000 of a nominal unit of a money, where Australia, it might cost $5, 5 to 5,000, just because of inflation. Iceland, 2008, Spain, 2012, Cyprus, Greece, Italy, Lebanon, still happening. In contrast, it's impossible to experience bail-ins with the freedom credit. So that's all for this video. I hope you enjoyed it, learned something new. In the next video, we're going to be looking at financing with the freedom credit. How can that work? Because in today's world, to finance, you go to a bank and they create credit from nothing. How could it work in a system where no one has the right to make new money out of nothing? Freedom credits, you can't do that. No one can do that. The system doesn't allow it. So how would that actually work? And then we're going to look at modular CPI repayment rates. Oh, what's that? That sounds interesting. I'll explain in the next video. And going over some miscellaneous questions and answers. There won't be a very big one either in that video. Stay tuned and I'll see you on the next one. Bye-bye.